Today we're planning to read only chapter 18 of 1 Samuel. Yesterday we read chapter 17, which was David versus Goliath. So David is going to fight, and the Israelites are going to fight against the Philistines. So the Philistines they got Goliath. He's like the Michael Jackson of the Philistines. And the young David, whom the Lord favors, he's put ahead in the battle, or he puts himself in position to fight Goliath. And with the blessing of the Lord, and against all odds, he throws one darned for Goliath, stone at Goliath, and he takes him out and kills him. And from there, David is the beacon of the Lord. David defeats Goliath because the Lord was with him. So we got chapter 18, Jonathan and David. That's the only chapter I think we're going to read tonight. Now it came about when he had finished speaking to Saul that Jonathan committed himself to David, and Jonathan loved him as himself, and Saul took him that day and did not let him return to his father's house. Then Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as himself. Jonathan stripped himself of the robe that was on him and gave it to David with his military gear, including his sword, his bow, and his belt. And David went into battle wherever Saul sent him, and always achieved success. So Saul put him in charge of the men of war. And it was pleasing in the sight of all the people, and also in the sight of Saul's servants. Now when it happened as they were coming, when David returned from killing the Philistine, that the women came out of all the cities of Israel, singing and dancing, to meet King Saul with the tambourines, with joy, and with other musical instruments. The women sang as they played, and said, Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s. Then Saul became very angry, for this lyric displeased him, and he said, They have given David credit for 10,000s, but to me they have given credit for only thousands. Now what more can he have at the kingdom? And Saul eyed David with suspicion from that day on. Saul turns against David. Now it came about on the next day that an evil spirit from God rushed upon Saul, and he raved in the midst of the house while David was playing the harp with his hand as usual, and the spear was in Saul's hand. And Saul hurled the spear, for he thought, I will pin David to the wall. But David escaped from his presence twice. Now Saul was afraid of David because the Lord was with him, but had left Saul. So Saul removed him from his presence and appointed him as a commander of 1,000. And he went out and came in before the people. David was successful in all his ways, for the Lord was with him. When Saul saw that he was very successful, he was afraid of him. But all Israel and Judah loved David, for he would go out to battle and return before them. And Saul said to David, Here is my older daughter Merab. I'll give her to you as a wife. Only be a valiant man for me and fight the Lord's battles. For Saul thought, My hand shall not be against him, but let the hand of the Philistines be against him. But David said to Saul, Who am I, and who is my family, or my father's family in Israel, that I should be the king's son-in-law? So it came about at that time that Saul's daughter Merab was to be given to David, that she was given instead to Adriel the Maholathite as a wife. David marries Saul's daughter. Now Michal, Saul's daughter, loved David. When they informed Saul, the thing was pleasing to him, for Saul thought, I'll give her to him so that she may become a trap for him, and that the hand of the Philistines may be against him. Therefore Saul said to David, For a second time you may become my son-in-law today. Then Saul commanded his servants, Speak to David in secret, saying, Behold, The king delights in you, and all his servants love you. Now then, become the king's son-in-law." So Saul's servant spoke these words to David, but David said, "Is it trouble in your sight to become the king's son-in-law, since I am only a poor man and insignificant?" And Saul's servant reported to him, saying, "These are the words David spoke." Then Saul said, "This is what you shall say to David. The king does not desire any dowry except 100 foreskins of the Philistines to take vengeance on the king's enemies." But Saul plotted to have David fall by the hand of the Philistines. When his servants told David these words, it pleased David to become the king's son-in-law. So before the time had expired, David set out and went, he and his men, and he fatally struck 200 men among the Philistines. Now David brought their foreskins, and they presented all 200 of them to the king, so that he might become the king's son-in-law. And Saul gave him his daughter Michal as a wife. When Saul saw and realized that the Lord was with David, and that Michal, Saul's daughter, loved him, then Saul was even more afraid of David. So Saul was David's enemy continually. Then the commanders of the Philistines went to battle, and it happened as often as they went out that David was more successful than all the servants of Saul. So his name was held in high esteem. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and read chapter 19 as well. David protected from Saul. Now Saul told his son Jonathan and all his servants to put David to death. But Jonathan, Saul's son, greatly delighted in David. So Jonathan informed David, saying, "My father Saul is seeking to put you to death. Now then, please be on your guard in the morning, and stay in a hiding place and conceal yourself. And as for me, I will go out and stand beside my father in the field where you are hiding, and I will speak with my father about you, and whenever I find out, I will tell you." And Jonathan spoke well of David to his father, and said to him, "May the king not sin against his servant David, since he has not sinned against you, and since his deeds have been very beneficial to you. For he took his life in his hand and struck the Philistine, and the Lord brought about a great victory for all Israel. You saw it and rejoiced. Why then would you sin against innocent blood by putting David to death for no reason?" Saul listened to the voice of Jonathan and said, Saul vowed, "As the Lord lives, David shall not be put to death." Then Jonathan called David, and Jonathan told him all these words. And Jonathan brought David to Saul, and he was in his presence as before. When there was war again, David went out and fought the Philistines and defeated them with great slaughter, so they fled from him. Now there was an evil spirit from the Lord on Saul, as he was sitting in his house with his spear in his hand, and David was playing the harp with his hand. And Saul tried to pin David to the wall with his spear, but he escaped from Saul's presence, so that he stuck the spear into the wall. And David fled and escaped that night. Then Saul sent messengers to David's house to watch him, in order to put him to death in the morning. But Michal, David's wife, informed him, saying, "If you do not save your life tonight, tomorrow you will be put to death." So Michal let David down through a window, and he went and fled and escaped. And then Michal took the household idol and laid it on the bed, and put a quilt of goat's hair on its head, and covered it with clothing. When Saul sent messengers to take David, she said, "He is sick." And Saul sent messengers to see David, saying, "Bring him up to me on his bed, so that I may put him to death." When the messengers entered, behold, the household idol was on the bed, with a quilt of goat's hair at its head. So Saul said to Michal, "Why have you betrayed me like this, and let my enemy go, so that he has escaped?" And Michal said to Saul, "He said to me, 'Let me go. Why should I put you to death?'" So David fled and escaped, and came to Samuel at Ramah, and he informed him of everything that Saul had done to him. And he and Samuel went and stayed at Naioth. But it was reported to Saul, saying, Behold, David is at Naioth in Ramah, and Saul sent messengers to take David. But when they saw the company of prophets prophesying, with Samuel standing and presiding over them, the Spirit of God came upon the messengers of Saul, and they also prophesied. When Saul was informed of this, he sent other messengers, but they also prophesied. So Saul sent messengers again the third time, yet they prophesied. Then he went to Ramah himself and came as far as the large well that is in Secu, and he asked, Where are Samuel and David? And someone said, Behold, they are at Naioth in Ramah. So he proceeded there um, in Ramah. But the Spirit of God came upon him also, that he went along prophesying continually until he came to Naioth in Ramah. He also stripped off his clothes, and he too prophesied before Samuel, and lay down naked all that day and all night. Therefore they say, Is Saul also among the prophets? The word of the Lord. Praise be to God. All right, so first of all, God bless you, Chris. Welcome in. How's it going? What about me? Sup, Metro? God bless you and welcome in. Love you. Love you too, Chris. Yes. But quickly, because we could leave at any time. Chapter 18 is Jonathan and David are talking. And then, by the way, you mentioned that the FBI was in the Bible. Oh, well, where did you find that? No, I didn't say the FBI was in the Bible. I said that the Lord will help you. If the IRS is after you, FBI, CIA, whatever, the police have to go by. God bless you. Sleep deep, rest and shine bright, go in peace and seek the love of the Lord. Chris, rest well. No, the FBI is not in the Bible. That's not what I said. What does that have to do with David, though? No. We're not talking about David in that. That was last stream. Oh. Bing chilling? Like, like John Cena Bing chilling? Ice cream? Okay. Let me summarize this first, folks. Okay, chapter 18, Jonathan has David's back. So, all the people in Israel and all the women, it mentions they're praising David because of what he did to Goliath. And then Saul becomes jealous and very ragey. So he's like, how dare you praise him instead of me? Therefore, I'm going to go kill David. Do you have Netflix? I don't use Netflix, actually. I used to use it back when I was in 7th grade, I believe, or 6th grade. But as of now, I haven't had Netflix for a while. Yeah. So you'll see multiple times in chapter 18 that, or not, sorry. You'll see in chapter 18 and 19 that Saul wants to kill David. So when the evil spirit from the Lord comes to trouble him, David comes and plays the harp as usual. But this time Saul launches a spear against him, or prepares a spear against him, and then he throws it at David, and David escaped. In this case, in chapter 18, twice. And then Saul was very fearful of David, so he wanted David to die. And so Saul gave David Merab, or whatever her name is. But instead of that, he gave him to Adriel. Kind of like, what was it? Was it in Joshua or no? It was in the book of Judges. Someone was married to somebody else. Samson was with a woman whose name I do not know, and then her father gave away that woman to someone else, and for that Samson destroyed I believe the Philistines' crops. By the way, what's a good word for someone who is 100% identical to you and same memories? Copy and paste. That's what it is. I know it's 3 words, but still. So Saul does the same thing that Samson's first wife's father does in giving away their daughter to someone else. So David sets his eyes on Michal. So Saul thinks, she's so beautiful, she'll be an absolute snare. And Michal is Saul's daughter, and so that's why Saul is pleased, because he believes that she'll listen to him. And so therefore, it's like David is so delighted. What? I'm poor, and yet you give me your daughter to marry me? But just like Judas was betraying Jesus, Saul is betraying David out of jealousy. Judas was for greed, greed. I'm a clone? Who am I cloning? So Saul sends David to be commander-in-chief for the Israelites against the Philistines. How long are the Philistines fighting, by the way? Do you know Zorro? Yeah, Zorro means fox. And I'm just looking at that. But, at the end of the day, what Saul meant for evil is what David meant for good. So, it's the guy with the black hat and mask. I never heard of him, actually. Juju's Fam 327. God bless you and welcome in. So chapter 18 is Saul becomes jealous of David, so he wants to have him destroyed, but David endures instead of being severely destroyed. And then chapter 19, Jonathan is basically David's guardian against Saul, his father, Jonathan's father. So he protects David and tells his father, Saul, do not put him to death.
¿Estás manejando ese abanico?
¿Vale?
¿Manejas ese abanico?
Oh, sí. Bueno, mi mamá lo compró, pero sí lo manejo. Yeah. So, Saul listens to Jonathan. So, there's that. And once again, the evil spirit from the Lord comes upon David or not David, Saul. And David comes and plays the harp again. And Saul again tries to pin David, but David fled. And then Michal, Saul's daughter and David's wife, say he or she saves David, so she has him escape and takes the household idol. I'm not sure why they have a household idol, but whatever. Well, not whatever, but yeah, I really don't know what it means. Household idol. Why do you have that? But regardless, as soon as Saul finds out, Saul is angry that David escaped. So Saul is going to keep on trying to find him and but because the Lord is with him, Saul is not going to be successful. So, you know, when Saul sends all these messengers to capture David, instead of capturing him, they prophesy in favor of the Lord. So y'all see script on. And eventually Saul also prophesies in the name of the Lord. So the Lord this time sends the Holy Spirit, not the evil spirit, but the Holy Spirit. So, yeah. In chapter 19, Saul becomes very raging against David and tries to go hunt down for him. That's what happens. Do you have salsa verde? Yes, we do. I prefer salsa verde to salsa roja. At least because salsa roja, many of the salsa rojas that they have in Texas, for example, maybe not in Mexico, but in Texas, they put a lot of spices and it really messes with your throat and sometimes with your stomach, but more with your throat. So I really love salsa verde. If you don't have salt, salsa verde is the best thing you can put. It is. So yeah. Have you tried jalapeno salsa? Um, I think so. Well, in Mexico, they probably use serrano peppers more than jalapenos. But there was one salsa that I tried that was, uh, you could really taste the pepper in it. I can't tell what pepper it was, whether it was jalapeno or serrano, but it tasted to the point where it was overpowering. You should try jollof rice. Mm. That reminds me, for whatever reason, I should try kitfo. I think that's what it's called. It's like this Ethiopian raw meat dish, marinated, and it's spicy Nigerian food. Jollof rice made with ghost peppers. Oh wow! If it's made with ghost peppers, I'm probably not going to survive. I will survive though, but my tongue is going to hate me, I guess. So yeah, chapter 18, David becomes jealous, or not David, but Saul becomes jealous of David. And then in chapter 18 and 19, the Lord is with him, so he is protected. And then chapter 19, Jonathan is basically best friends, so he intercedes for David to Saul so that he would not kill him. And but instead Saul hunts David, goes out to hunt David, and instead people are prophesying, and Saul himself as well. Uh, he prophesies. So what the Lord meant for evil, I got distracted. What the devil meant for evil, I meant to say, the Lord meant for good. Sheesh. Sorry about that. In another universe, Antonio Banderas? You mean that Spanish actor from Puss in Boots? The one who strikes the cat, the woman cat, who's in the same movie, who's played by Salma Hayek. By the way, Salma Hayek is from Mexico, so you know he's the guy from Spy Kids. I never watched Spy Kids, so I know him from Puss in Boots. Oh man. Mayhaps. I don't got boots. I got shoes. I got these New Balance shoes. They're made in the USA, so that's good. You know what's sad? A lot of shoes are now made in China, in Vietnam, or Thailand. And I will say this: those shoes made in Mexico are pretty good for whatever, for imports. And some of them made in China are good. It's just you have to look, hey, in 2026 and realize you're not bald yet. Yeah. I I was gonna message you on Discord, but I have to delay that because we haven't had enough. My mom decided to leave at 4 or 5 because my grandparents, they don't want anyone to leave the house really. So I was like, come, like, you said you would leave already. So we left and took some days off. Tomorrow, I think we're going to return, but I think my mom is considering having a haircut tomorrow. So if she does, I'm going to go there and be bald. But I don't think I'm going to be able to stream because they don't have Wi Fi. And the video stuff on YouTube really consumes my data and what I'm able to use in Mexico. So you're trapped in Mexico for the year until the 11th. Yeah, but sorry to disappoint you, Metro. Yeah. I wish I could give you a refund of whatever dollars, but yeah, goodness gracious. Yeah. Hey, I noticed that Adam is using a different logo for the channel logo than what you sent me in Discord, Metro, for the donut logo. He sent one of those logos. He used one. He's using one of those logos that he made in, was it Chat GPT, I believe. where there's a lot of stuff there. Like, it's so full. My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined. I'm sorry, Metro. And I'm sorry, Review Bra. Hopefully, Popeyes can send you a check worth of how much is that butterfly shrimp? I don't remember, nor do I know, but I hope that we can have a refund. I'm kidding, lol. Yeah, remember that clip? My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined. um, those were the days. Careful. Sweet. Dun, 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 All right, folks. I think I'm gonna go. We're gonna read chapter 20 and onward. Let's see how many chapters we've got next in First Samuel. The irony of First Samuel is that that's when Samuel dies. For some reason, there's Second Samuel, which I cannot figure out why, but it is what it is, folks. How many chapters do we have until First Samuel finishes? I think it's either 30 or 31. It's 31. Yeah. So, I'm gonna bookmark this. So we're gonna probably finish this book in maybe 4 days, but I mean it's Mexico, but yeah, folks, we'll see. I won't guarantee anything, but I hope everybody had a great day. God bless y'all. Thank you, Metro, Chris, and Mr. Juju. God bless y'all. Sleep deep, rise and shine bright, and go in peace.